What's up, Tamers? Welcome back to the other decks. My name is Casual Adobo, and today I'm very excited to be presenting to you this pretty interesting, pretty spicy black-green deck that is revolved around our boy Blastmon. Now, if we set this up correctly, you'll be able to use Blastmon to actually swing multiple times into your opponent's security and Digimon and allow us to actually win the game in one turn. I affectionately call this the One Punch Mon deck. Let's hop into it. Now, before we get started, I do want to say thank you so much to everyone who supported the last video, the Kaiser Nail Cerberus Mon video. The response on that has been great. The viewership, yeah, but more importantly, the comments about people talking about what improvements they would make on that deck, many of which I agree with, and once I ultimately have the physical cards in front of me, that is probably going to be the next iteration of that. Namely the Plutomon and Necrophobia combo is very interesting there. But just wanted to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you all taking a shot at a new creator. And hopefully this deck is just as interesting as the last one. So before we get into the actual deck list, I do want to show off some of the tech that we are playing in here, some of the combos that we're looking to get, as well as the big combo that I mentioned earlier. So without further ado, let's head over to the playmat. Now, here on the playmat, we have what I consider to be the baseline foundational combo for this deck. It does revolve around our boy Blastmon, which, for those who don't know who Blastmon is, it does have security attack +1, and then when attacking, your opponent can choose one of their unsuspended Digimon and switch the target of the attack to that one, which is kind of rough on its own. But if we include the Promo Paxuna Rizamon, which says that on your turn, all of your black Digimon with 13,000 DP or more, aka Blastmon, gain piercing. So even if your opponent chooses an unsuspended Digimon, as long as it is under 13,000, you are okay. You'll be able to destroy a Digimon as well as get the security, the 2 security checks to come with it. Now, I know that this particular combo, like I said, is foundational and is still susceptible to Gaia Force. So if we include 2 additional cards to the setup, there is a way to sort of get around that. So here we have the setup for how to deal with the Gaia Force. It does require Craniumon to be on the field, which says that on all turns, your Digimon with blocker can't be deleted by your opponent's effects. And then Megadramon from the starter deck, which has an inheritable of blocker. This way, we're able to Digivolve onto Megadramon, which would then give Blastmon blocker and protect it from things like Gaia Force when it swings into the security. If you're worried about things that have higher DP than 13,000, such as a lot of the level 7s, you can, for 2, play Zubigon Punch. This will give 13,000 DP to one of your Digimon, and if it has 16,000 or more, it does gain the additional benefits of blocker, which is a little bit redundant here, but it does have reboot and security attack +1. So we're essentially just loading Blastmon with keywords. Now at this point, you're probably wondering, hey, Adobo, where's the green cards? We're getting there. So if you have this particular setup, and then have 2 green cards in your hand, namely Puppetmon and then Dimension Scissor, you're going to create the wombo combo that I was talking about earlier. So, assuming that your opponent had just attacked you with at least some of their Digimon, you can hard play Puppetmon for 11. And for those of you who don't know who Puppetmon is, on play, you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then during your opponent's unsuspend phase, they can't unsuspend any of them, which is fun. Yes, it gives your opponent a lot of memory. In this case, I was at 1. I am now putting them at 10, which gives them a couple of different options. But hopefully, they can't really do anything with that. And so, when it passes turn, say you have 3, they have a few unsuspended Digimon that can be targets for Blastmon with piercing. And then, because you have a green Digimon, you put Dimension Scissor onto Blastmon. Now, Dimension Scissor says that one of your Digimon gains the following effects when the Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives unsuspended. So, if you can swing into at least 2 of the Digimon you can knock out, at this level, 4 of their security. Obviously, this would be even better if you had 5, and then you could just play Dimension Scissor and Zubagon Punch. So you gain 16,000 DP, or you gain 3,000 DP, putting you at 16,000, making you nearly unstoppable. You have blocker with Craniumon, Gaia Force doesn't apply, and you have security attack +1 for each of that, meaning Blastmon has 3 security in total. So if you just destroyed 2 Digimon, all of your opponent's security is out of the field, and because Blastmon will still be unsuspended at the end of that, you can go in for the win. Now, I understand that this does require a bit of setup, especially if you're going for that 1-turn KO. However, I do believe you will have time to set it up, because currently in the BT4 meta, everyone is trying to set up their Digiburst, so everyone's playing it a little bit more cautiously, a little safer. So you should be able to get at least a couple of these components out in the field, and be able to swing in pretty nicely. So with all of that out of the way, let's head over to the actual deck list and show you what we're working with. Alright, so to start us off, let's look at our 5 Digitama. So for the first one, we do have Puppetmon from BT2. This says that while this Digimon has reboot, it gains plus 1000 DP. This synergizes well with the Toy Agumon that we have later down in the line. And then we also have 1 copy of Puppetmon from the starter deck, which says when this Digimon has blocker, it gains plus 1000 DP. I might switch the ratios to have this as the 4 of, and then that as the 1. But I like the idea of the reboot one being more, just because that's going to be a lot of our early game, especially if we have Toy Agumon. Speaking of which, we have 4 copies of Toy Agumon. This is one that has the inheritable of giving our Digimon reboot. Moving on with our other rookies, we also have 4 copies of Tsunorizumon. This is obviously a very key component to our Blastmon deck, and as we discussed, this will give any of your black Digimon with 13,000 DP or more piercing. This does have a very nice inheritable as well that says that on your turn, while this Digimon is black and has 13,000 DP or more, it gains security attack +1. So if you're able to have, a free Tsunorizumon out in the field for the main effect, and then another Tsunorizumon to Digivolve off of, this is also a nice one to have in Blastmon's Digivolution chain. And then to round out our rookies, we do have 2 copies of the Toy Agumon from the starter line. This has the inheritable that at the end of your opponent's turn, if your opponent didn't attack with a Digimon, you get to draw 1. Now, your opponent does have to attack with at least 1 Digimon in order to negate the effect, which I sort of just found out today. But still, with people playing slower and maybe people playing more cautiously, you might have some opportunities to get some free draw 1, which is honestly very nice, because we have cards to get to. Moving on to our champions, our level 4s. We do have 4 copies of Greymon, which has the inheritable. While this Digimon has reboot, it also gains jamming. Obviously, very nice synergy with Toy Agumon there. So, moving on, we do have 2 copies of Greymon. This is the one from the starter deck, and it's essentially just a level 4 version of the Toy Agumon we just saw, because it has the exact same inheritable effect. So once again, if we can get any sort of free card draw, that would be great. And then rounding out our champions, we do have 4 copies of starter deck Dark Tyrannomon. This is a very cheap 1 to Digivolve blocker, so it's very nice for our early game, and this deck needs more blockers. Moving on to our ultimates, we only got 7 of them, but 3 of them are Metal Greymon. This has reboot, so it will gain jamming from Greymon and all the nice stuff from if we get that Digivolution chain correct. And it also has a nice inheritable that while this Digimon has reboot, it gains security attack +1. And then for our other ultimate, our other level 5, we do have 4 copies of Megadramon. I talked about it in the deck text earlier in the video, but this has an inheritable that gives our Digimon blocker, which is important for our level 6s, our Megas, because we do have 3 copies of Craniumon. This is in and of itself is a blocker and protects our other blockers from being deleted by our opponent's effects. We have 3 copies of it, mostly because I think 3 copies is a pretty good number for consistency. We only ideally need 1, but you never know. So that's why I didn't go with like 2 or 1, just because I do want to see it a little bit more often. We do have 4 copies of Blastmon. This is the key boss monster in our deck, so we want all 4 copies of that. I've explained Blastmon at length. And then we do have 3 copies of Puppetmon. Talked about him earlier in the video as well. And the 3 is to get the consistency. Ideally in the deck, we only need him once, and then we win the game. But 3 feels like a very comfortable number. Moving on to our options, here's a better look at that final Zubagon Punch. Like I said, one of our Digimon gets plus 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is nice. And then if it has 16,000 or more, it gains blocker, reboot, and security attack plus 1. That way, if for some reason you're unable to finish off your opponent with a wombo combo, you can reboot it, and then Blastmon is a 16,000 DP blocker. And then as our final option card, we do have 3 copies of Dimension Scissor that allows us to swing in multiple times with our piercing Blastmon. And to round out the tamers, we do have 4 copies of Izzy Izumi. If you have 2 memory or less, this sets you to 3, so it's our memory tamer for the game. And then on play, we get to reveal the top 3 cards of the deck. If it's all black, then we gain 1 memory, and then we can place the cards on top of our deck in any order. Now I know there will be some moments when this doesn't trigger, but honestly that's great, because even though we won't gain the 1 memory, we'll be able to see what's coming up. So we can plan ahead, especially if one of those is Puppetmon, Dimension Scissor, or even if it's the other tamer we have in here, which is 2 copies of Red Tai Kamiya from the starter deck 1. And this just gives all of our Digimon plus 1000. The reason I inserted this here is because I like the additional boost it gives to our Digimon. And at least one of these, if we have at least one of these on the field, it allows Craniumon actually to be a target for final Zubagon Punch, because the baseline would then be 13,000, and it would trigger all of this when they get the additional DP bonus. Similarly, if we don't have final Zubagon Punch, but we've at least put 1 Tai Kamiya, I feel a lot better swinging in with just the Blastmon Tsunarizumon combo at 14,000 than I do at 13,000. Even better if we have both, and then it's 15,000, and everyone's happy. So there we have it. There's the deck list. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. I know that a couple of people have put out some black-green decks that do revolve around final Zubagon Punch. Specifically, I know that Taste of Victory and Blue Numa put out a video about Bug Punch, which I thought was very fascinating. Uses a green core versus a black core. So that is a very fascinating take on trying to get the 1-turn kill stuff. Obviously Grand Kawaga is in the mix for there, but I want to see where you think this deck stacks up against some of those. So let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.